The sky over Ravelin Station didn't rain. It shed metal. Tiny flakes of burnt alloy drifted past the broken windows like grey snow, whispering across the hull where old impacts had never been sealed. Jace Rourke watched it fall and felt the same thought he felt every cycle: this place should already be dead. And yet it kept breathing, because he kept forcing it to. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was a salvage mechanic with a patch kit, a welding torch, and a stubborn habit of refusing to quit. The alien empires out here traded worlds like game pieces, but no empire cared about a forgotten repair station hanging on the edge of an empty shipping lane. Ravelin Station survived on scraps, and so did Jace. He was mid-repair on an oxygen recycler when the sensors screamed. Not the normal alerts. Those were constant. This was different, a sharp, panicked tone that meant something fast and hot was coming in, and it was coming in wrong. Jace turned toward the main viewport. A streak of blue-white fire cut across the starfield and bent, as if the pilot inside was fighting death with raw will. The streak shuddered. Split. Then a compact pod smashed into Ravelin's outer ring with a crack so violent the whole station trembled. For one breath, Jace froze. Then the station lights flickered. A warning panel flashed. Hull breach, Ring 7. Of course, Jace muttered. Because why would today be quiet? His station AI, a cracked and stubborn little system named Lumen, chimed from the ceiling speakers. Impact analysis complete. Unknown craft. Life sign detected. Probability of hostile outcome, high. Yeah, Jace said, already grabbing his emergency suit. That's usually how surprises work. He sealed his helmet, clipped a magnetic line to his belt, and pushed into the corridor. The route to Ring 7 ran through sections that had no business still holding pressure. The metal smelled burned. The floor hummed under his boots with the vibration of stressed plates. When he reached the breach, he saw the pod embedded like a bullet in the station's curved wall, half inside, half outside. The air around it shimmered with heat. The hatch was twisted inward like someone had slammed it from the inside. And there was blood. Not human blood, this was bright and luminous, drifting in slow globules in the thin air, glowing like liquid starlight. Jace's throat went dry. Lumen. Scan. Life sign present. Severe trauma. Unknown physiology. Core temperature dropping. Can you keep the ring sealed if I cut around it? Marginally. Marginally is fine, Jace said. I live in marginal. He anchored himself, pulled the cutting torch from his belt, and began slicing the warped hatch. The metal resisted like it was alive, smooth and dense. Whatever this pod was made of, it wasn't cheap. The hatch finally gave with a heavy groan. Jace pulled it free, then saw her. She was tall, even curled in the pod. Her armor was shattered and scorched, layered plates that looked like black glass under starlight. Her skin was pale with a faint silver sheen. A crown-like band had been fused to her brow by heat, as if it belonged there and the pod's fire had tried, and failed, to rip it away. Her eyes were closed, lashes dark against her cheeks, and her breathing was barely a thread. For a split moment, Jace's mind tried to simplify her into something safe, a passenger, a lost traveler, a victim. Then he saw her hands. Not the delicate hands of a diplomat. Not the soft palms of someone used to being served. These were the hands of a fighter, scarred, strong, built to grip weapons and not let go. Lumen, Jace whispered. She's not some random. Agreed, the AI replied. Unknown energy residue consistent with elite combat augmentations. Jace stared at her and felt the weight of the moment press down on him. Out here, helping the wrong person could get you killed. Ignoring the right person could get you killed too. But leaving her here to die, after she had dragged herself to the edge of life just to crash into this forgotten station, felt like the kind of decision that changed who a person was forever. He reached in and carefully hooked his arms under her shoulders. She was lighter than she looked, like the armor was heavier than her body. Her head lolled against his suit. The glow of her blood smeared across his gloves. Don't die on me, Jace muttered, and pulled her out. The corridor back to the medbay was a narrow tunnel of failing lights. Jace moved fast but careful, using the magnetic line to keep his balance as the station shivered around them. Every few steps, he checked her breathing. It stayed shallow, uneven, like she was losing a battle quietly. Ravelin's medbay was a converted storage room with a scanner older than Jace and a surgical kit meant for simple injuries. Cuts, burns, broken bones. Not whatever this was. He laid her on the table, and Lumen's wall panel flickered to life with a spinning diagnostic. Symbols crawled across the screen, half human, half alien language it couldn't fully translate. "Tell me something useful," Jace said. "Multiple fractures. Internal bleeding. Foreign nanostructures in bloodstream. Neural activity unstable." "Okay," Jace said, forcing calm into his voice like he was forcing oxygen into a leaking tank. "So, she's dying." "Correct." Jace stared at the supplies. Bandages. Sealant foam. Pain injectors. A portable fusion cauterizer. And his own hands. He exhaled. "Then we improvise." That was the human way. No perfect tool. Build one. No proper solution. Make one. No permission. Do it anyway. He cleaned her wounds first, gentle as he could be while the station groaned around them. Her blood reacted strangely to antiseptic, dimmed, then brightened again, like it was refusing to surrender its light. He used sealant foam on the worst gashes, then cauterized the edges with careful, short bursts. The scanner kept throwing warnings, but Jace ignored the panic and searched for patterns. He watched her pulse. He watched her breathing. He noticed the tiny tremor in her jaw right before her oxygen levels dipped, and he adjusted airflow accordingly. Hours passed in a blur of sweat and concentration. At some point, her breathing steadied, still weak, but more regular. Jace sagged into a chair and let his head fall back against the wall. "She's not dead," he said softly, like he couldn't trust the universe not to overhear. Lumen's voice lowered. "You have altered your situation significantly." Jace laughed, but it came out tired. "That's my whole life." Then the station sensors pinged again. Not another crash. A long-range sweep. A deep pulse, clean and powerful, military grade. Jace sat up slowly. "Lumen, tell me that's a comet." Silence. Then, "It is not a comet." The viewport feed snapped onto the screen. A shadow was sliding into the edge of Ravelin's sensor range, large enough to blot out stars. Its hull shape was sharp and intentional, like a blade. Jace felt cold spread through him. "What is it?" he asked. Lumen hesitated, as if the AI itself didn't want to speak the answer. "An imperial pursuit vessel. High tier. Equipped for boarding." Jace looked back at the unconscious alien woman on his table. Her chest rose and fell. Her face was still, calm in a way that didn't match the violence around her. He whispered, "They're here for you, aren't they?" The woman didn't answer. But the station shook as the first docking beacon locked on. And Jace realized, with sudden clarity, that he hadn't rescued a stranger. He had rescued a storm. The pursuit vessel didn't hail politely. It didn't request docking. It simply took position above Ravelin Station like a predator settling its weight on prey. Jace stood in the corridor outside the medbay, staring at the security feed. The ship's hull was matte black, broken by glowing seams that looked like heat trapped under skin. It was built for speed and intimidation. No cargo modules. No civilian markings. Only a crest, 3 hooked arcs around a central flame. "Lumen," Jace said quietly, "tell me that crest means nothing." "It means a great deal," the AI replied. "The Varen Dominion. Imperial authority. They do not travel this far for routine matters." Jace's hands flexed. He was in a patched suit on a dying station with a welding torch and a stubborn attitude. Against an Imperial pursuit vessel, he was less than a fly. But he was a fly with home field advantage. "What are they doing?" he asked. "Launching a boarding skiff." The feed zoomed in automatically. A smaller craft detached and glided toward Ravelin's outer ring. Its nose lights blinked once, like an eye closing. Jace turned and pushed into the medbay. The alien woman was still unconscious, but her eyes flickered beneath her lids as if she sensed danger through the walls. He leaned close. "Hey," he said. "You need to wake up. Imperial people are here. I don't know if they're your friends or your executioners, but they're not bringing snacks." Her lips parted. A faint sound escaped, something between a breath and a word. Then her eyes snapped open. They were not amber like in fairy stories. They were a sharp, metallic gold, like molten coin. Focused. Awake in an instant. No confusion. No softness. Her gaze locked on him. And in one smooth motion, she rolled off the table, grabbed the nearest metal instrument, an old bone saw, and pressed it under Jace's jaw. He froze, feeling the cold edge bite his skin. "Where am I?" she demanded in clipped, accented English. "Ravelin Station," Jace croaked. "I'm Jace. You crashed. You were dying. I didn't let you." Her eyes narrowed, scanning his face like a threat assessment. "Why?" Because he couldn't explain compassion in a universe that treated kindness like weakness. Because he'd been alone too long. Because letting her die felt wrong. So he chose the simplest truth. "Because you were there." For a moment, the knife didn't move. Her breathing was steady now, but her stance told him she was still wounded, powerful, but not whole. Then Lumen's speakers chimed. "Boarding craft has docked. Estimated breach in moments." The woman's gaze flicked toward the door. Her jaw tightened. She lowered the blade slightly. "They found me." "Who is they?" Jace asked, careful not to move too fast. Her expression hardened, and for the first time Jace saw something behind the warrior mask: exhaustion. Not physical. The exhaustion of someone who has carried too much for too long. "Enemies," she said. "And traitors." The station shook as a cutting laser bit into the outer hatch. Sparks showered the corridor beyond. Jace's mind raced. He couldn't outgun Imperials. He couldn't outfight them. So he did what humans did best. He looked at the broken system around him and asked, "How can I make this unfair?" He pointed to the wall panel. "Lumen, reroute power to Ring 7's pressure locks." "Compliance will destabilize life support," the AI warned. "Do it anyway. We'll stabilize after." The woman stared at him. "You are willing to risk your own air supply for me?" "I'm willing to risk my air supply to make sure nobody turns my station into a trophy room," Jace snapped. "Also, if they're here for you, I'm already in it." The hatch finally blew inward. Armored figures poured through, moving with perfect, practiced coordination. Their helmets were smooth and faceless. Their rifles hummed with energy. They spread into the corridor like a net closing. Jace stepped back into the medbay doorway and raised his welding torch like it was a weapon. The lead soldier's visor lit with translation text. "Human mechanic. Stand aside. Imperial retrieval is in progress." The woman beside Jace didn't move. Jace's heart hammered. Imperial retrieval of who? Asset designated K'. The woman's shoulders went still. A dangerous stillness. Like a blade held perfectly balanced. Jace didn't understand K', but he understood one thing: they weren't calling her a person. He smiled slightly, tired and sharp. "Yeah, no. We don't do assets here." The lead soldier raised his rifle. "You will comply." Jace lifted his torch. "You'll have to breathe to shoot me." He flicked a switch on his wrist pad. Instantly, the corridor vents slammed shut. Pressure locks engaged. The hallway lights shifted to emergency red. Then the air dumped. Not in the medbay, Jace had sealed it. But in the corridor where the Imperial troops stood, the atmosphere vented into space in a violent rush. The soldiers stumbled as their momentum changed. Their boots magnetized, but they still fought the sudden pull. One slammed into the wall. Another spun as loose gear ripped away. Jace had built Ravelin's patchwork systems himself. He knew every weak point, every valve, every override corporate never bothered to remove. And he knew Imperial troops trained for boarding actions expected clean, controlled environments. Ravelin was neither. The woman's eyes widened slightly. "You vented them." "Temporary," Jace said. They've got suits. But they'll be disoriented. The lead soldier recovered fast and aimed at the door. The woman moved. She didn't rush like an animal. She flowed like a precise machine. One step, then another, and suddenly she was in the corridor, using the shifting gravity and air pull like it was part of her body. She slammed into the lead soldier, twisted the rifle away, and struck his helmet with the butt hard enough to crack the visor. He dropped. 2 more advanced. She ducked, swept one's legs, and used the other as cover while she wrenched a rifle free. Jace stared, stunned. Even injured, she was faster than trained troops. "You're not just a warrior," Jace murmured. She didn't look back. "I am what my throne required." The troops regrouped, trying to coordinate in the depressurized corridor, but Jace's venting trick had bought seconds, and humans lived in seconds. "Lumen!" Jace shouted. "Pulse the artificial gravity. Microspikes. Risk of structural stress. Do it." The floor jolted in rapid, uneven bursts. The Imperial soldiers staggered again, their perfect formation breaking. Their training assumed stable gravity. Their bodies didn't know how to dance on chaos. Jace watched the woman exploit it with terrifying skill. Every stumble became an opening. Every tilt became leverage. She turned the station's broken physics into a weapon. Then the pursuit vessel's voice broke through the station comms, deep, cold, and confident. "Empress Calithra," it said in flawless English. "You may stop running. Return to us, and the human will be spared." Jace's blood turned to ice. "Empress." The woman's face didn't change. But something in her eyes did, an ancient weight settling back into place. So that was who she was. Not a fugitive. Not a soldier. A ruler. And the galaxy's hunters were calling her by name. Calithra raised the stolen rifle and aimed down the corridor with calm precision. "I do not run," she said. "I reposition." Jace swallowed. "So, what now?" Calithra looked at him for the first time like he wasn't just a useful obstacle. "Now," she said, "we teach them what happens when they corner a human." The pursuit vessel did not send more troops immediately. It waited. That was worse. Jace knew that kind of patience. It meant the enemy believed time was on their side. Calithra stood in the corridor, breathing carefully, steadying herself. Her movements were sharp, but Jace could see the strain in her shoulders. Healing foam covered deep wounds. Her armor was cracked. She should not have been fighting at all. Yet she had. Jace dragged the unconscious Imperial soldier into the medbay and sealed the door. "We need leverage," he said. Calithra's gaze flicked to the prisoner. "They will not negotiate for him." "Then we don't negotiate," Jace replied. "We deceive." Her expression tightened. Suspicious. "Explain." Jace pointed at the station's old transmitter array. "This place used to relay shipping manifests. It can still broadcast. It can still spoof. If they think you're not here, they change tactics. If they think you're already dead, they panic." Calithra studied him. "Humans weaponize panic." "Humans weaponize everything," Jace said. "We're good at that." Lumen chimed in. "I can forge a Dominion-coded distress signal. However, authenticity probability is low." Jace snapped his fingers. "Then we make it emotional. Not perfect. Real enough to be believed." Calithra's eyes narrowed. "Emotional." Jace leaned closer to the transmitter panel, hands moving fast. "Empires are built on fear and pride. Your enemies didn't come here for money. They came for a symbol. If they believe that symbol has been stolen from them, by a human, then their own people start asking questions." Calithra's jaw tightened. "You understand politics for a mechanic." Jace didn't smile. "I understand bullies. Same rules." They worked together in tense silence. Calithra dictated key phrases only an Empress would know, old ceremonial codes, oath fragments, the kind of words stamped into the culture's bones. Jace fed them into Lumen, who wrapped them in authentic Dominion encryption patterns. Then Jace added the human touch, imperfection. A shaky breath in the audio. A pause like pain. A voice strained but proud. Calithra recorded it herself, and hearing an Empress speak like a wounded soldier made Jace's skin prickle. When it was done, he hit broadcast. The signal blasted into space. Dominion vessels, Calithra's recorded voice said. This is Empress Calithra. I have been betrayed. I have been struck down. If you receive this, know this, I do not kneel to traitors. I do not surrender to thieves. My blood will judge you. Jace layered a second transmission over it, his own voice, rough and angry, acting as if he didn't realize the broadcast was open. I don't know who you people are, Jace recorded, but you brought a warship to my station, and now you're threatening me in my own home. Here's what you're going to do, you're going to leave. Because if you don't, I'm going to vent your ship's docking ports the same way I vented your soldiers. Lumen added false sensor noise, enough to suggest external explosions. Calithra watched him finish and finally spoke in a low tone. That is madness. Jace shrugged. Humans call it confidence. Minutes passed. Then the pursuit vessel responded, not with threats, but with sudden, urgent scanning bursts. Their ship rotated slightly, repositioning. They're searching, Lumen reported. They suspect a trap. Good, Jace said. Let them suspect. Suspicion is expensive. It burns attention. Calithra stepped close. Why do you risk yourself for me, human? Jace didn't answer immediately. He looked at the station walls, at the patched seams and ugly welds. Because this place is mine, he said. And because you were dying, and you still fought. That's a kind of strength I respect. Calithra's eyes softened for a moment, just a flicker. Then respect this, if they take me, they will erase you. Jace nodded. Then we make sure they don't take you. The pursuit vessel launched drones. Small, fast, glittering with scanning beams, they drifted toward the station's weak points, hunting for heat signatures, life signs, anything. Jace's mind snapped into problem-solving mode. Lumen, can you mask her biosignature? Partially. Then we do the rest the old way. He led Calithra into the maintenance shafts, tight, grimy tunnels where heat and noise mixed into a confusing mess. He turned on every machine at once, compressors, recyclers, coolant pumps, anything that produced interference. The station became a screaming choir of mechanical chaos. To the drones, it would look like a station on the verge of failure. And in that noise, Calithra became harder to find. But the drones were smart. Too smart. They are mapping, Lumen warned. They learn quickly. Jace's lips tightened. Then we stop teaching them. He stopped at a junction and opened a panel. Inside was an old emergency canister, industrial thermite gel, used to cut through bulkheads. Calithra watched him pull it out. What is that? A human solution, Jace said. It's not elegant. But it works. He rigged the canister to a motion trigger and set it in the shaft behind them. Not a bomb, something worse for machines. Thermite gel would flood the tunnel with molten heat, turning drone electronics into slag. They moved deeper. A drone floated into the shaft and followed their heat trail. It hit the trigger. The shaft behind them became a white-hot throat of fire. The drone vanished in a burst of molten glare. Calithra stared, impressed despite herself. You burn your own station. I burn what I can repair, Jace said. I don't burn what I can't replace. Calithra's gaze sharpened. And what can you not replace? Jace looked at her. People. For a moment, the Empress didn't speak. Then she nodded once, slow and heavy, like a ruler acknowledging a truth. They emerged into the station's central hub where the main reactor hummed. Jace moved to the control console. Calithra's voice dropped. What are you planning? Jace's eyes hardened. If they want you, they'll come closer. If they come closer, we make them regret it. Lumen chimed, almost nervous. Jace, you are considering something extreme. Jace smiled without humor. Humans are extreme. That's why we're still here. Outside, the pursuit vessel edged nearer, and the lie Jace had broadcast, about venting docking ports, had done its job. They were no longer sure who controlled this station. And fear, once planted, spreads faster than any fleet. The pursuit vessel finally chose aggression. A new boarding tube extended from its hull, a hardened spear meant to punch through and flood Ravelin with troops. It aimed for the hub. "Lumen," Jace said, hands flying over controls. "How long until that tube breaches?" "Moments." Calithra stood beside him, weapon ready, but her breathing was heavier now. Even empresses bled. Even legends had limits. Jace glanced at her and made a decision. "Calithra," he said, "when the breach happens, you run." Her eyes snapped to him. "I do not abandon allies." "You don't have to," he replied. "But you can't win a war if you die on my floor." She didn't answer, but her jaw tightened, anger and reluctant respect mixed together. The boarding tube hit. Metal screamed. The hub wall buckled inward. Sparks erupted like angry stars. Then the tube locked, sealing and equalizing pressure. Imperial troops poured through, more than before, better equipped, moving with brutal certainty. Their leader's voice boomed over a local comm channel. "Human. Surrender the Empress. You will be rewarded." Jace leaned into the station microphone and spoke calmly, like he was talking to a customer in a broken shop. "You brought an Empire's gunship to steal a person from my station. You don't get rewarded for that. You get consequences." He hit a switch. The hub lights went out. Total darkness, except for the faint glow of emergency strips near the floor. The Imperial troops activated helmet lamps instantly. But Jace had planned for that. He had spent 2 years fixing systems nobody cared about. He knew where every reflective panel was. Every polished surface. Every cheap corporate design flaw. He triggered the station's internal mirrors, maintenance shutters meant to redirect heat. They snapped open, catching the Imperial helmet lamps and bouncing them back in blinding flares. The troops flinched. Calithra moved like a shadow in the chaos, striking fast, disarming rather than killing, driving them away from Jace. Jace didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like a mechanic. He slammed a wrench into a knee joint here, yanked a power cable there, pulled a support pin and let a door panel fall like a guillotine. Every move used the station as his weapon. The Imperial leader recovered and raised a rifle at Jace. Jace smiled and stepped aside. The leader fired. The shot hit the central reactor's outer shield. A siren screamed. Lumen shouted, "Reactor containment compromised. Warning." The Imperial troops froze. Even empires feared reactors. Jace leaned into the MIC again, voice steady. "You just shot my reactor. That means you're not leaving, because you're going to be busy not dying." Calithra stared at him, shocked. "You endangered your own core." Jace snapped. "I threatened it. There's a difference." He knew this reactor. He knew how much it could take. He knew exactly how far he could push without breaking it. And he knew something else. Aliens respected power displays. Humans respected control. He typed fast, rerouting coolant into secondary loops, making the reactor's warning glow rise, just enough to look catastrophic. The Imperial leader's voice hardened. "You will destroy yourself to protect her." Jace answered simply, "Humans have done worse for less." The leader advanced, trying to grab him. Calithra stepped forward, weapon raised. And then Jace did the cleverest thing he had done all day. He opened the station's public broadcast, wide, loud, impossible to hide, and sent the entire confrontation out into the system on an emergency channel. His voice echoed across space. "Imperial troops are boarding a civilian station. They have compromised the reactor. They are threatening civilians. This is recorded." Calithra's eyes widened. "You are broadcasting?" "Yes," Jace said. "Because empires can kill people quietly. But they hate being seen." Lumen added a layer of signal amplification, bouncing it off abandoned relay buoys in the area. The message spread wider than the pursuit vessel expected. The Imperial leader froze, visor flickering as incoming comms hit his helmet. Urgent, angry, panicked. Somewhere in the Dominion, someone with rank was asking why a civilian broadcast was showing Imperial troops threatening a mechanic on a forgotten station. Calithra looked at Jace like she was seeing something dangerous in a new way. "You are using shame," she said. Jace shrugged, breath harsh. "Shame is a leash. Works on bullies." The pursuit vessel sent a final threat through the comms, but it sounded less confident now, more hurried. They could win this fight physically, maybe, but politically? Publicly? That was different. The Imperial leader backed away, voice tight. "Stand down. This operation is compromised." Jace didn't relax. "Leave the way you came." The leader hesitated. Calithra stepped forward, her voice suddenly cold and regal, filled with authority that made the air feel heavier. "You will return to your ship," she said, "and you will tell your masters, the Dominion is not ruled by traitors. And the next time you bring war to a civilian's door, I will bring war to yours." The troops withdrew, tense and humiliated. The boarding tube retracted. The pursuit vessel drifted back. But Jace knew this wasn't over. Because now they had learned two terrifying truths. The Empress was alive. And a human mechanic had made the Dominion hesitate. Hours later, the pursuit vessel still lingered at the edge of sensor range, like a threat that hadn't decided whether to bite again. Jace sat in the hub, hands shaking slightly as adrenaline faded. Calithra stood near the viewport, staring into space like she was measuring her enemy's patience. "You could leave," Jace said. "Take an escape pod. Get distance." Calithra didn't turn. There are no safe distances from traitors. Jace rubbed his face. "Then what happens next?" Calithra finally faced him. Her wounds were partially sealed, but pain still lived in her posture. Yet her eyes were clear, sharp and calm. "Next," she said, "you survive." Jace blinked. "That's surprisingly encouraging." "It is a command," she replied. Then she stepped closer, and her voice softened, only slightly. "Human Jace Rourke, you did not know who I was. You did not fear my title. You feared only what was right." Jace swallowed. "I feared a lot of things, actually." Calithra's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Then you are honest as well." Lumen chimed. "Incoming transmission. Dominion High Command. Priority encryption." Jace stared. "They are calling you." Calithra lifted her chin. "Let them." The screen lit with a stern alien face, an older official, eyes narrowed, posture rigid with controlled outrage. "Empress Calithra," the official said. "Your absence has caused destabilization. Return at once. This incident will be contained." Calithra's gaze became steel. "Contained," she repeated. "Like rot under armor." The official's eyes flicked to Jace on the feed. "Human. You have interfered in internal Dominion affairs." Jace leaned forward, tired but stubborn. "You interfered with my station first." The official's expression tightened. "You are insignificant." Jace smiled. "Then why did you bring a warship?" Silence. Calithra stepped into frame. "Listen carefully," she said. "The traitors who sent hunters for me believed fear would keep the Dominion obedient. They believed the people would never see the truth. Today, a human mechanic broadcast your cruelty to the system." The official's jaw worked. "We will." Calithra cut him off. "You will withdraw your pursuit vessel. You will announce an investigation into illegal Imperial actions against civilians. And you will publicly recognize human interference as lawful self-defense." Jace's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" Calithra didn't look away from the official. "If you refuse," she continued, "I will return, and I will speak the truth in front of the Dominion Senate. I will name the traitors. I will burn their masks off with my own words." The official's face paled slightly. Not from fear of violence. Fear of exposure. Because Calithra wasn't just a warrior. She was the Empress. And the strongest weapon in any empire is legitimacy. Finally, the official spoke through clenched control. Terms, acknowledged. The feed ended. Jace stared at Kalithra like he couldn't decide if he should laugh or faint. You just forced them to apologize. Kalithra's eyes narrowed. Not apologize. Submit. Outside, the pursuit vessel slowly turned away. Then it jumped to hyperspace. The station fell quiet. Jace exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since the crash. So, you're really the strongest warrior in the galaxy. Kalithra looked at him. Strength is not only muscles and weapons, she said. It is the choice to stand when you can kneel. She stepped toward the viewport, watching the stars. And you, she added, stood against an empire, with vents, mirrors, and a broadcast. Jace rubbed the back of his neck. Humans are good at making unfair fights. Kalithra nodded once. So I have learned. He hesitated. What now? You go back, punish traitors, fix your throne, rule the Dominion. Kalithra's gaze softened, just enough to feel real. Yes. But I will not forget this. She turned and placed something on the table, a small ring of black metal, etched with the Dominion flame, warm with hidden energy. A mark, she said. If any Dominion vessel scans you, they will know you are under my protection. Jace stared at it. That's a lot. Kalithra's voice lowered. It is less than what you gave. Jace picked up the ring carefully. And what did I give? Kalithra held his gaze with the calm of someone who had faced fleets and still believed in choice. You reminded me, she said, that power without honor is just fear wearing a crown. Jace swallowed, emotion tight in his chest. And you reminded me that saving someone can change everything. Kalithra nodded, then looked out into the stars again. Humans are underestimated, she said. They think you are fragile. Jace smiled faintly. We are. Kalithra's eyes gleamed. That is what makes you dangerous. Fragile things learn to be clever. Fragile things learn to unite. Fragile things learn to build traps out of broken stations. Jace looked at the patched walls of Ravelin and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. Not in conquest. Not in dominance. In survival. In invention. In a stubborn refusal to be erased. And somewhere far away, the Dominion would soon learn the same lesson. A human's mercy is not weakness. Sometimes, it is the first step of a legend.